was financial analysis, and we looked at several units from Unit 1 down to Unit 8, where we stopped, and because of time, we had to halt to close. And today we'll be continuing from where we stopped, which was Unit 8, and we'll be looking at the final two units, Unit 9 and Unit 10, on our conversation on financial statement analysis. So if you are not in the last class, you could go to YouTube to view the videos, so you can know what transpired and also glean from what we shared on financial statement analysis from Unit 1 to Unit 9. We're actually following the guide by this ICAN Case Study text, and that's what we use to prepare the slides and the lectures, even though they are in summary form. Okay, like I just said, we'll be continuing from Unit 9. Unit 9 is I think second to the last unit we'll be looking at on financial statement analysis. So we'll be looking at how. Yeah, good evening. You're welcome, ACA. Nice to have you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, welcome. Okay, so like I was saying, speaking to Unit 9, using financial statement analysis in the case study exams is what we'll be continuing with. Financial statement analysis is actually one of the intricate areas the examiner tests, especially as requirement 1. And predominantly, he has always come up with financial statement analysis in the case study exam. So please pay attention to this unit, as it will be opening up your capacity, to be opening you up to gleaning on how to tackle this requirement very graphically. Okay, so the high standard expected is that candidates writing the case study paper must expect detailed financial analysis question requiring high standards. So your top-notch calculations and explanations on financial statement analysis is the high standard spoken about here. And that is beyond maths. So you need to display a high level of communication skills, analytical skills, even though calculation skills are fundamental and foundational for you to be able to explain what you calculated. Beyond maths or your ratios, your calculations, your computations, you need to demonstrate good analytical, evaluation, and communication skills. That's what earns you the marks. That's what earns you the marks. Very important. So the high standard expected is you must perform detailed financial analysis. And it goes beyond just calculations or the maths. You must display good analytical, evaluation, and communication skills. This is very important. So you need to avoid pages of mathematical correct ratios with little written analysis. That only shows numerical skills and it attracts very limited marks. So avoid that. Of course, you try to be mathematically correct as much as possible, but then your explanation, your communication in writing, it's key to acing the case study paper. So, like I said, over 80% of the marks comes from writing and communication, and less than 20% is allocated to calculation. So please take note of the weight so you could align properly and ace the exam. So the assessment focus speaks to in-depth understanding of financial statements, management accounts, numerical and non-financial information, and your ability to explain those figures to the report reader. This is very important. So what you are assessed on, what you are examined on in the case study paper is your explanation skills and your report writing skills. So you need to understand financial statements, what the components of the financial statements are speaking to, and also the explanation of the same. It's what you'll be assessed and examined on. Very important. To enhance success, to enhance the success of passing the case study paper, you need to answer the requirement as it's presented. So you have two detailed requirements that may be splitted into splinter units, small numbers, but then there are still two requirements and you need to answer them exactly as the examiner has asked you or required or requested you. But also consider the focus on these key areas: the financial performance, which is in the income statement or the statement of changes in equity. You need to look at the success or the decline in the numbers. So you could graphically speak to where the stage or currently what the organization is performing or is doing based on the numbers. You also need to focus on the financial stability and depth, speaking to the position statement. Very important. Looking at the assets, the liabilities, and the capital structure. That will speak to the financial position and the debt and equity structure of the firm. You need to focus on those key areas to perform good financial statement analysis. Then the cash balance and the change movements in cash and cash equivalents. You need to speak to the statement of cash flow if provided in the financial statement. So you need to consider the effects of business scenario changes and the external environment, the macroeconomic environment on the financial statements. How does that impact the financial statements based on what you've read in the case scenario or the exhibits? You also need to look at the wider context: fiscal policies, economic policies, and generally external factors affecting the organization and their impact on the financial statements. You need to consider the effects of that. And also making adjustments, removing one-off items, acquisitions, disposals, and how they also impact the financial statements. You must take note of that. And they present themselves in form of note to the account and some adjustments you may need to re-perform on the financial statement numbers. Also, segmenting information, speaking to slicing and dicing, that is breaking down numbers. It's very important. So you may have financial statements or segmental statements, segmental reports that you may need to slice and dice. It's very important to take note of this as you perform your calculations and explanations in your quest to delivering value in the financial statement analysis provided to you by the client or by the examiner. This is very important. And you also need to be professionally skeptical. That is, exercise your judgment, have inquiring mind, questioning mind, question the numbers, question the financials. Something must be wrong. Something is not ethically right. That's your professional skepticism you are displaying. So in all analysis you perform, please ask why. Very important. Explain elements of the analysis, why the analysis, and that to give you most of the answers or clue to the answers when you ask why in every analysis you perform for the financial statements. You also ask, so what? That is the meaning to the business, the analysis. What happened? What has happened? What caused what? You also ask like for like questions, speaking to adjustments of non-occurring events, occurring events, and changes in the general events on the financial statements. Also ask, what is the purpose of the financial statement analysis? Is it to advise? Is it to profile solution to a problem? Whatever it is, the purpose of the financial statement analysis must be known in the form of the requirement you are asked to perform. Very important. Also add knowledge. Tell your client what they don't know, supported by the evidence in your calculations. Add knowledge. Add knowledge to your client because you are performing advisory services. So let them know what they don't know. Very important. And support it by your evidence, which is your appendices and your calculations. And also add understanding. Explain technical features simply Make it very, very comprehensive and not ambiguous. Make it simple, clear, and logical. Very important. And finally, please add value. Solve the problem. A problem is presented to you. Value simply means solve problems, provide solutions, provide recommendations that will lead to a way forward. And it comes in form of evaluation. And that is why the structure of the case study paper states if you don't conclude and recommend, no matter your analysis, you cannot pass the paper. That is, your conclusion and recommendation is a way forward based on the work you've done. This is very important. Take note of this significant point. Add value. Then the next thing is communication. Write in language the recipient understands. No jargons, no ambiguities, no heavy English language. Just simple English terms that could be understood by every non-financial literate. Very important. So that's basically how you use the financial statements in the case study exams to ace it. Very, very key. Okay, so we're done with Unit 9. I believe it's comprehensive enough. Do we have any questions? And like we usually say during our classes, please feel free to interject where you have challenges. Even if I'm speaking, don't worry. Please go ahead and interject so that a thought does not escape and you'll be able to catch whatever it is you're not clear with. So please. Yes, please. Yes, please.
That conclusion and recommendations, it must be at least 4 points, it must be
yes,
up to
please.
4 points.
Okay, yes, yes. To maximize the superior achievement, yes, 4 points.
4 points.
Yeah. All right, thank you for that. So like I was saying, you need to engage where necessary and please interject if I share the thought and it's not clear. Okay, so the final unit, speaking to the examination focus, financial statement analysis and how to focus for the exams. The goal should be to pass the exams, of course. Understanding, knowledge and understanding is the primary or the secondary focus, but then passing the exams should be your primary focus. So for the examination focus, you need to have that at the back of your mind that to be successful, you must carry out meaningful initial analysis of the financial statements in order to identify key factors. And those key factors are to determine the work you carry out for the detailed analysis in line with the requirements you've been requested to perform. So there should be an initial analysis. Just look through the financials, the exhibits at a first glance before you go into the detailed analysis. Ensure that you understand the wider context, macroeconomic environment of the business in which it operates. So please read the case study requirements on the exam day very carefully, once, twice. As a matter of fact, read the requirements before you go through the unseen and the pre-seen again. Of course, the pre-seen will be given to you 2 weeks before the time. But immediately you pick the question paper, please read the requirements first, locate it and read it first so that you can have at the back of your mind before going through all the voluminous data presented to you on what you are supposed to do. The requirements are the requests. That's what you are supposed to do. So when you know you have a task ahead, every other nitty-gritties will fall in line. So the first thing is to read the requirements, locate where it is, whether it's Exhibit 5 or 6. When you read the requirements first, you have it at the back of your mind. Okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Then you start from the pre-seen, link the unseen, take notes, mark where necessary, the data necessary. So very importantly, the requirements should be carefully read, deciphered, and understood. So you'll be able to answer the other aspects required. Very, very important. So 1 and 2 should be read. And in cases where the requirements look like 4 of them, maybe he said Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4. Just read in between the lines. There are simply 2 requirements that were splitted into those units. And ensure that you link requirement 1 and requirement 2 to know which is which As we look at past questions and the most recent diet, as we're looking at our past questions, you understand what I mean graphically. Also, prepare clear relevant appendices of ratios and any other numerical analysis for requirement 2. Prepare it clearly, very clearly, so you could be able to cross-reference your appendices with your explanations, the body of your work, your writing. This is very important. So it's very important you have relevant appendices for your ratios, which is the foundation. Of course, it carries very limited marks, maybe 14, 16 marks, and they can be very technical and very, very challenging. But then 100% or perfection in the calculations is not what is required. Once you have a base, please go and write. One of the candidates I tutored, I think some 2 diets back, ran to me and said, he keeps failing case study. What's the challenge? And I said, okay. I gave him a mock exam. And when he submitted the script, I did not see appendices, but I saw body of report and I marked him down. In fact, his body of report was beautiful, but no appendices. So I marked him down and sent the feedback. So he asked me why. I said, the case study exams must have an appendix. What was the basis of writing the report? He said, no, he just calculated that in his mind. I said, no, I'm not in your mind. The examiner is not in your mind. So you must have the appendices seen. I need to see what you used to write. And I told him that's the reason you've been failing the case study paper. And he adjusted, and that diet, he passed the case study. So he was very happy that, thank you for pointing this out. And so your appendices are the foundation for what you write. So they carry limited marks does not mean you should ignore them or remove them or just have your calculations in your mind and it's not penned down in the report. You'll be marked down. You won't pass the case study paper. So your appendices is the first thing you do on the last sections of your pages, of course, but then they must be presented. It must be there. And cross-reference them to the report. We'll be looking at that graphically anyway as we go into an example. Just needed to reiterate that very, very importantly. Okay, so you need to bring forward the key information from the appendices and integrate them into the report. That's what I'm saying about cross-referencing. Then you need to explain logically and easily understandable English. No technical jargons, no frivolities, no complex words. So what you've calculated, just explain it in simple language. Then you evaluate your analysis on the calculation and apply judgment to the results of what you've come about. Then very importantly, you need to state what you've concluded with under a header, a separate header, which is one of the boxes. Your conclusion must be clearly stated, without which your chances of passing case study is very, very slim. As a matter of fact, I'm not a soothsayer. You're not going to pass case study if you don't conclude and recommend. It's clear. So your conclusion, like I used to say over the years, is your statement of the problem in summary. Then your recommendation is the solution to the problem. So present reasonable and implementable recommendations, and I used to say make it SMART. SMART means S-M-A-R-T. Specific recommendations, measurable recommendations, attainable recommendations, reasonable or realistic recommendations, and they should be time-bound. This is key. So finally, provide compelling evidence for your financial statement analytical skills. Evidence means your calculations and your argument. And also make sure you're financially fluent by writing your report logically in a language that the recipient of the report will understand. Most case study papers, you see people score 70, 80, 60, and you see some people score 10, 11, 5. Why? And that's because you didn't make your report readable or presentable enough to the examiner. So please, the examiner wants to pass you, but make it easy by presenting your report in a form that is readable, and the format the case study text has provided should be followed. And I tell you, you pass case study very easily. I used to say it's the easiest paper in the professional stage. It's the easiest. But it can be challenging and tough if you don't follow these nitty-gritties. So please take note of them. And this is very key. And we'll be buttressing this practically as we take a past question to show you how to go about it. Very important. So do not write technical jargon. When writing your report, overcomplicating sentences with too much English can mess you up. So write in plain language, succinct sentences, at most 2 or 3, depending on. So for example, your executive summary should not be more than 1, at most 2 lines. And the executive summary must be 2 pages maximum. 1 page minimum, 2 pages maximum. Also, your related key points per paragraph should be clear. Very important. So that's the examination focus. But then no matter how theoretically we explain this, except you look at, or we take a look at a past question and shed more light on it by solving it practically, we may not be able to grasp these concepts or whatever it is I'm teaching in the theoretical aspect. But then you need this theoretical foundation to understand the practicals when we pick a past question to start attending to. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that will be the end of Unit 10 and significantly Chapter 2. Any questions on these last 2 units or previous units? Maybe you went through the YouTube videos for the 8 units we looked at and you didn't understand something. So the floor is open. Please go ahead and ask your question freely. There's no stupid question or there are no brilliant questions. Please ask without any fear of reprimand, and I'll try to share some thoughts to the best of my ability on what you've asked. So we have a quiz. We have quiz questions to look at before we go into the past question, but then let's go to your question and your answers, or your questions, I beg your pardon. If you have any questions so far on financial statement analysis, please provide as we forge ahead. Any questions? Wow, we are quiet. Should I? Okay, yeah, please. AA, please go ahead. Yeah, I can see your hand.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're
I'm
welcome.
just trying to review and analyze basically all the calculations, the way you have mentioned them and put them together. It's more like they are not just more than 14 marks. And I was just imagining, like last diet, we have to analyze more like is it an investment proposal, analyze the financials as well. I'm just trying to see the timing to do all these things and still meet up with what is the best approach to work around this, so that we will not spend so much time on this and waste time, basically.
Fantastic question. Thank you very much. So the best approach is practice. And whatever it is, practice, they say, makes perfect. Now, that time to perform the calculations as recommended by the examiner is 1 hour. Now, you must understand that under 4 hours on normal conditions, you may not be able to perform those calculations accurately, even under 4 hours. Yeah. So you look at them, they are very technical, they are very, very challenging, they are complex, especially requirement 2. So like I said, practice, practice, practice. You can't go to the case study exams without practicing at least 3 diets under timed conditions. It's impossible, and it will be practically challenging to pass the paper. So the appendices is recommended 1 hour, but I tell students don't calculate more than 45 minutes because the weight of the marks is on what you write, and 2 hours will be a bit low to write, especially to provide context to requirement 1. And getting to requirement 2 is hard to finish. I did not finish my requirement 2, but the examiner is not telling you to answer. He's asking you to attempt. Attempting is provide your knowledge. Let me see how it is. And you'll be given the marks. I did not start requirement 2 to some extent and I submitted, but scoring 78 showed I was doing the right thing. So what I'm saying is time management is the solution, and time management is not attained on the day of the exam. It's before the exam. So you need to practice under time conditions. So pick those pathfinders, get to my YouTube videos, the past questions. I have over 10 diets already solved, and the solutions are there in the description section. So please download the reports and start practicing those things. There are things you know. The only problem is the thinking process and the time to process them. Is the time that is the challenge. So you can only navigate that through practice, rigorous practice. Practice the ratios. Practice the requirement 2, which is where the bulk of the work is. Maybe the presented MPV or project analysis or one IFRS that is so complex or something. So once you practice them, the examiner has graphically not much around those things he has tested. There's really nothing new. So if you've gone through most of what he's done and you've practiced them, so once he comes in another way, change the numbers, change the wordings, you just know this is where he's gravitating towards, and you'll be able to nip it in the bud. So in answering your question succinctly, please practice. That's it. That's how to attain good time management skills. Practice, practice, practice. I hope I've been able to share some thoughts.
You have actually. I just want to get insights from you. You know, you said something that you didn't finish up with your requirement 2, and how were you able to conclude and make your recommendation? Was it based on requirement 1?
Okay, so requirement 2, I had just done the computation, which was the basis for the writing. So I started my body of report and I started writing. So requirement 2, I did not conclude or recommend. So the examiner saw that, okay, from my first requirement, I had already done the body of report and I concluded and recommended. So I started the requirement 2 at a point, but because of time. So logically, it's easy to conclude from the examiner's point that, oh, this guy was on the way. He was going to conclude and recommend, but time was a factor. So normally, if I'm even marking and I see you do that under exam condition, tension, and all the factors, I mean, I'll score you well if your requirement is well presented with conclusion and recommend. I will assume you will do the same for requirement 2 and just give you the mark. I may not give you 100%, but I'll give you credit for, as in you are still on the way. If we were not for time, you would have gotten there by providing conclusion and recommendation. So in answer to your question, no. For requirement 2, I didn't conclude and recommend, but for requirement 1, I did, and I followed the structure. And for requirement 2, I was on the way to doing that when they said, pens up, submit. So what I'm saying is, do the right thing and follow the format. And on your way to doing that, the examiner knows it's challenging to finish case study exams in 4 hours. In fact, all exams. So do your possible best. And when you get to a point where it's time to submit, you have to submit. So submit and just hope for the best. And you get what you're due.
Thank you, sir.
All right. You're welcome. Any other question? That was a fantastic engagement. I loved the questions. They made a lot of sense. And those are what you meet practically in the case study exams. Thank you for bringing that. Okay, so any other questions? You're welcome. Any other questions? Any thoughts? Any contribution? So we could go to our quiz. All right, so let's look at the quiz questions for chapter 2. Let's look at 5 quiz questions, and maybe when we go on break, the 5 quiz questions, we'll maybe take it till break time. And if we don't take it to break time, then we'll start looking at our first past question for the diet. Okay, so let's test and see if we understand 1 or 2 things we've shared on the on the chapter 2 we just concluded. So I have, normally we do it this way. I have AA on the call. I have, let me use Alex as AT. Then I have IB, Bosede. Then I have SH, Sherifat. Then I have ZM. Nobody should leave the call, except network logs you out, because this is test time. So don't run away. So you just provide the options as you see on the screen based on what you understood from the lectures. All right. So question 1 reads. So after reading, just unmute your mic and give us your options. What is the primary purpose of financial statement analysis within the context of a case study examination for an ICAN chartered accountant? A, to simply calculate all possible financial ratios. B, to read, understand, evaluate, and explain financial statements to a client. C, to forecast stock market prices for investment banking. D, to only focus on the numerical summary of business activities. AA,
B, sir.
what's your pick? Okay, AA, B. All right, AT, what's your pick? Okay, B.
B, sir.
All right,
B,
IB,
sir.
what's your pick? Okay, ZMB,
B for me.
IB, and SH, what are your picks?
B, sir. B.
Okay. SH, what's your pick?
B, sir. I said B.
All right.
B.
Everybody went for B. Okay, we'll see on Judgment Day. Number 2. Which of the following is not one of the 5 main groups of accounting ratios discussed in the notes? Which of the following is not one of the 5 main groups of accounting ratios discussed in the notes? A, profitability ratios. B, liquidity ratios. C, economic ratios. D, efficiency / activity ratios. AA, what's your pick?
C, sir.
Okay. AT, what's your pick? AT, are you there or you're still thinking?
C for me, sir.
Okay, ZM is picking C. All right. All right. AT, are you there? You're muted. Please speak. What's your option? Or maybe it's his network. Okay. IB, what's your pick? And SH, what's your pick also?
C, economic ratio.
Okay. SH is saying C. So we're waiting for you,
C.
AT and IB. IB, what's your pick? Are you going for B? Did I hear B? Yeah, AT, go ahead. Your hands are up. Yeah, Alex, go ahead. Your hands are up. Speak.
C.
Maybe he's speaking. Okay, is that IB? IB is speaking C too. IB, are you picking C? Okay, if you're struggling with your network, just put it in the chat box. Okay, C, all right. If you're struggling with your network, maybe you just put it in the chat box so we can forge ahead because of time. All right, so AT, we are waiting for you. Just put it on the chat box if we can't hear you or something. Okay, so that's for question 2. We still have AT. AT has not spoken. I think I heard IB speak and said C. Okay, so question 3. When conducting a vertical analysis, which speaks to static analysis of a statement of financial position, what figure is typically set as 100%? A, total revenue. B, gross profit. C, total assets. D, current liabilities. When conducting a vertical analysis, static analysis of a statement of financial position, what figure is typically set as 100%? A, total revenue, B, gross profit, C, total assets, and D, current assets. Okay, so AA, what's your pick?
C, sir.
Okay, AA is going for C. All right, AT, what's your pick?
Sir, I pick A.
Okay, I think I see C. All right, AT is
A,
picking
sir.
C for number 2. Okay, ZM is
A.
picking A. AT picks C for question 3. Okay, all right, so I've had you ZM, I've had your pick. So let's go IB and SH. What are your picks?
A, SH, B,
SH is picking A. All right, IB, what are you picking?
IB, S, B, B, gross
Okay,
profit.
IB is picking B and SH is picking A. Am I correct?
No, sir. SHB.
Okay, SH is picking B. Then IB is picking
A.
Okay, IB is picking A. Okay, so IB went for A and ZM A, but AA and AT picked CC. All right, we'll see who is correct and who is wrong on Judgment Day. Okay. Number 4. The operating cycle in the context of liquidity ratios is best described as A, the time it takes for a company to complete one full production run. B, the period required to convert inventory investment back into cash. C, the average time taken to pay all creditors. D, the time from cash payment for materials to cash receipts from sales. The operating cycle in the context of liquidity ratios is best described as quite technical. Okay, who is that? Is that AT or AA?
No, me, sir.
Okay, ZM.
Yes, sir.
You're picking A?
Yes, sir. Oh.
All right. So AA, let's go for you. What are your thoughts? What's your pick?
I'm actually trying to look at BD because of okay, I would say D.
Okay, AA is going for B. All right, AT, IB, and SH. Let me see if maybe AT put. Yeah, go ahead, please. Okay, IB is going for A. IB is going for A. Okay, so SH, what are you going for?
I'm going for A, sir.
Okay, SH is going for A. So AT, put your answer in the chat box. Number 4. What are your thoughts on number 4? Please put your answer since we can't hear you, so we can score you also. So put your answer on the chat box, please. I can only see 2 C's and I believe it's for okay, D. AT is picking D. All right. So let's go to the final question for the day. Number 5 reads, in using the financial statements analysis in the case study exams session, what crucial advice is given regarding the presentation of ratio analysis to demonstrate high-level skills? A, present pages of mathematically correct ratios with minimal written analysis. B, focus solely on mathematical calculations as they are the primary assessment area. C, explain what the result mean and evaluate the causes of changes / fluctuation. D, use extensive technical jargon to impress the report reader. In the using financial statement analysis in the case study session, what crucial advice is given regarding the presentation of ratio analysis to demonstrate high-level skills? All right, AA, what's your pick?
C, sir.
AA is going for C. All right, so ZM, SH, IB, what are your picks? AT, put your answer in the chat box as usual. Okay, good. All right, AT said C for number 5. Oh, okay. Your answer for number 2 is B. Okay, let me change it to B. All right, SH, what's your pick?
C.
Okay, C. ZM and IB, we are waiting for you. What are your picks? ZM and IB, are you there?
A. IB.
Okay, I think AT is changing his option for question 4. AT said question 4 is B. All right, he changed to B. Okay. Sorry, IB, you were saying something. IB, what's your pick?
A.
The IB is going for A. So finally, ZM, you are the last man standing. ZM, we are waiting for you. ZM is the last man standing.
C, sir.
Okay, ZM is going for C. Fantastic. Okay, we've all picked well based on what we understood from the lectures. Okay, so let's go and see our answers. Number 1, according to the notes, what is the primary purpose of financial statement analysis within the context of the case study exams for an ICAN chartered accountant? The correct answer is B. Okay, so everybody got it. And that was a good one. B is the correct answer. The section 2.3 explicitly states critical skill, ability to read, understand, evaluate, and explain financial statements to a client, and the exam focus explicitly tests competence in financial analysis, understanding, evaluating, analyzing, and presenting succinctly. This goes beyond mere calculation to interpretation and communication. Exactly. Okay, so we all got that. That was cool. Number 2, which of the following is not one of the main 5 groups of accounting ratios discussed? And the answer is C. The explanation means clearly list 5 groups: profitability, liquidity, efficiency, activity, long-term solvency or leverage, and investment or shareholders ratios. So economic ratios is not among these categories. So AA got it C. AT said B. AT, what happened? IB said C, SHC, and ZMC. So only AT said B. So explanation for A, B, D, they are all explicitly listed as core groups of accounting ratios in section 2.71, each serving a distinct analytical purpose: profitability for operations, ability to meet short-term debts, and how efficiently assets are used respectively. Okay, let me see if AT has an explanation for choosing B on the charts. Okay. Maybe I didn't get what he said, but then he said B. All right. So let's go for question 3. When conducting a vertical analysis, speaking to static analysis of a statement of financial position, what figure is typically set as 100%? The answer is C, total assets. The explanation is under common size statements, which is synonymous with vertical analysis, statement of financial position, you take total assets as 100% and other items as a percentage of the total assets. This allows for comparison of the composition of the assets and liabilities. Exactly. So AA got it C, AT got it C, IB failed it. She said A, no. SH said B, no. And ZM said A, no. So only 2 people got it. So for A and B, A is incorrect. Total revenue is actually for common size analysis of income statement. So it's not applicable to the statement of financial position. So take note of that. Then for B, I think SH picked B. Gross profit is a line item within the income statement and it's not a base. So the base for the income statement is revenue and the base for the SFP is total asset. Take note of that in performing vertical analysis or common size analysis. Okay, good try, guys. Then for the fourth question, the operating cycle in the context of liquidity ratios is best described as, the answer is B, the period you required to convert inventory investment back into cash. And this is because the operating cycle speaks to the time and it captures the flow from acquiring inventory to sales, whether on credit or cash, and ultimately cash collection. All right, so of course, AA said B, correct. AT said B, correct. IB, A. Okay, so three people, IBSH and ZM, had this misconception. All right, so A is incorrect because while production is part of operating cycle for manufacturers, one full production run is too narrow. So the operating cycle includes sales and collection as well. So take note of that correction. So production is not the purpose of operating cycle. You want to see how to get your money so you can have working capital to run. All right, so we have the final question, which is number 5. In using the financial statement analysis in case study examination, what crucial advice is given regarding the presentation of ratio analysis to demonstrate high skills? The answer is C. What the result mean, which is very important, not just the computation, and evaluate the causes of that result, speaking to the changes up or down and the fluctuation. Very important. So you will see that we spoke about explicitly advising and avoiding pages of mathematically correct ratios with little written analysis, which only shows basic numerical skill, and it attracts only few marks. And the real skill is explaining what the results mean and evaluating causes of changes in those results and fluctuations. And also, further, you explain logically and in easily understandable languages, in the understandable English, the analysis you've performed. All right, so AA did excellently C. AT also said C. IB said A, no. SH said C. And ZM said C. So AA displayed 100% understanding of chapter 2. AT displayed 80% understanding of chapter 2. IB displayed 40% understanding of chapter 2. SH displayed 60% understanding of chapter 2. And ZM displayed 60% of chapter 2. Okay, good result, guys. But IB, I don't want to see this in the case study exam. 40% is not good. So please display more than that going forward. However, nice try, guys. And that's a good one to test how we've done on chapter 2. So that will be the end of lectures. So we have 10 minutes to break.